Sandra, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you.
today. We are right where we belong, and the purpose of this conversation is really to simply have a conversation, something that is so simple, right? But often underestimated. And I know that you are going to bring it today. So let's talk a little bit about how you came to be where you are. I think sometimes, often in life, there are areas that happen or things that happen that cause us to pivot or strengthens us, encourages us. And I'm curious. I mean, family is very, very important to you, and your heritage is Kenyan, and I'm very curious how does that family, that Kenyan family connection, mean anything to you right now? What does it mean to you?
I think the thing that I have realized is I'm the bridge between two lands, being here and being Kenyan. And my Kenyan heritage is everything to me. My parents, they worked so hard to bring us to this country. And when they raised us with the intentions to be brilliant, to be bold, and to be kind, right? I grew up in a household where you were supposed to be proud of who you are. Proud of where you came from, and you should never fear from that. You should never silence your tongue in the words that can come off of it, even if the other person doesn't understand the language, And knowing that my parents wanted me to never forget where we came from. We ate all the food at home. We spoke Swahili at home. We were immersed in Kenyan culture. As often as we could go home, we would go. And the thing that really is sad is because when we live here in the US, I don't get to see my family like that. 90% of my family is back in Kenya. So when I get those little glimpses, those couple of weeks where I get to see a part of me that is usually casted off often because I'm not there, it's like warming. It like warms your entire heart, especially just seeing your Coco, which is like your grandmother, seeing your grandparents and seeing that their hands and all the work that they did is what raised my mother and what raised my father and what raised them to be the people who then raised me. You just watch the generational work, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, if people are to like take a walk in your shoes right now, just wherever you are in Kenya, whatever city you live in, like what type of emotion are they going to feel as you're feeling it? What does that mean for you?
It's like an adrenaline rush. That might be the best way to put it. There's always so much joy and energy and brightness when you're going through those steps. It's my safe spot in my home is my family. They're the thing that grounds me, and the fact that when I'm with them, I'm so grounded. They play a major impact.
So we have a backdrop of the Kenyan flag, but we're also looking at a picture of you and your father and your brother.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful picture. It looks like it's around the holidays.
Yeah.
Your father is no longer with us.
Correct.
Passed away. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. When I was 12, on February 26th of 2013, my father and he would take me to band practice every morning. And usually he would be home around 8 o'clock, but that night there was a really bad blizzard going on. And so it was like 9 o'clock and he still wasn't home. And I ended up hearing a knock on the door. So me and my brother, we raced to the door as usual and were met with a cop. And the cop's face kind of just like falls completely, like he doesn't know what to do with us in that moment. And he tells us that they found my father on a corner a block away, bloody and unconscious, right? We later find out that he was carjacked and beaten with the gun in the back of his head, which caused severe brain damage to the point where he was in rehabs and nursing homes for 5 years. Yeah.
And how was that on your family? Because you're 12, you're in middle school.
Literally, I was in 6th grade, right? I think that's like a very important stage in your life, and I often say like I didn't have a childhood, but I had a childhood. But that event made me have to grow up even faster, because from there on out, I was spending a lot of time worrying about this or that. You know, you went from like a 3-income household to no income household. And you know, the banks don't care about that. That's not their problem. They want their money. So then it's always worrying about, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that? Like, the security that we had was gone. And so everything in my head was about, how can we make sure we never get stuck in this position again? I don't want to see us keep hurting like this, you know?
So what were the steps that you took? Because, I mean, I get you, because my mother passed away when I was 8, a few days after my little sister was born, and I had a younger brother, and my dad was 34 at the time. And so, you know, I felt compelled as a kid, like, I have to grow up. I will never forget it. My little sister was crying in her crib. I took her out of my crib and put her, I didn't know what to do with a child, you know, I put her in the bed with me in my little twin bed and just comforted her. And I remember thinking, you've got to grow up. It's time for you to grow up. Like, what does that mean? Like, what are the steps that you took?
I think it's the fact that, one, the first step that I took was assuming I had to grow up and forget that I was still a kid. And that was a failed step that I took. But because I took that step, what led me into the path of, after taking the step of you've got to grow up, I was angry a lot first, right? So I grew up, but because I didn't know exactly how I was supposed to grow up or how to fix the problems. Again, you're 12. How am I supposed to deal with the mortgage at 12, right? It just became a lot of anger because everything that I had to grow up to do, I couldn't do because I was only 12. I was only 13. I was in middle school. I was in high school. I couldn't do it. But because I convinced myself, like, you have to do it, I became so angry and so bitter for so long. And then I finally just let it go. There's only so much I could do. And what I could control, I decided to make an impact on it.
Well, how'd you let it go? Because you've got adults that are listening to you right now that don't want to let anything go, you know? What made you let it go? Why let it go?
My mom always says, a dirty heart needs to be cleaned. You have to clean a dirty heart. And what I realized for me personally is, the more I held on to everything that ever made me so upset, the more bitter I became, and I wasn't good for anybody. I was so destructive. Literally, I could fight people at school. I was screaming at teachers. I was just not having it. And the fact of the matter was, I was just angry. And I was never angry at them. I was angry about everything that was going on in my world. But the thing is, they didn't understand it. And I didn't have time or the energy to explain to every single teacher why I'm tired in class, or why when they ask me to do this essay, I'm more worried about the fact that I don't think my dad's going to make it through the night. And it's like, I don't want to keep telling you this stuff because you get to go home to your family and I don't get to go home to my whole family, you know? And just always being like, everything sucks for me. Everything sucks for me. Nothing was going to get better at that point because I just decided to say, everything sucks for me.
And you know, there's another picture that we're going to show, and this is you and your mama. And y'all look like y'all have all the joy in this photo. And was this photo taken before or after your stepfather passed away?
This was taken after. This was about 8 months after. So this was in March because he passed away last summer in July. And he passed away on vacation. Imagine my family's luck. He drowned trying to save one of my little cousins who slipped into the deep end. And he saved him, but then lost his life in the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, you were delivering CPR on him.
Correct. It's traumatizing.
But you know, it's your inept ability to lead, right? Yeah. Like, tragedy happens, but in the midst of tragedy, somebody's got to lead. Yeah. And you were 18 at the time?
I was 18. I had just graduated.
And you chose?
He was in the military, so he was headed off to Rwanda for some work, and I was going to be headed off to school the next week. So our family was having a big family reunion down in Arizona. Like, imagine that. Oh.
Yeah. So tell me, Sandra, like, we're going to talk about 2 more things specifically. the one thing that I want to talk about is like what drives you out of all of this tragedy that's happened in your life. It's been compounded with successes as well.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what makes you go? What's your motivation?
The future that I want, everything I want, I know I don't have right now, but the things that I need, I already do. I got my family, I got my health, and I got the drive, right? And when I think about the future and I think of everything I know I can accomplish, like I know I can do this, and this, I don't always have the steps, but I know I can do it. It's the automatic drive. It's the fact that I don't, even if I don't know, if I fear the unknown or don't know what's going to happen in the future, I know what's at the end of that tunnel. There's a light at the end of that tunnel, and that light, I want it. So I'm gonna go get it. Because honestly, a lot of things in my life I have had to do on my own. I'm a first generation student. I literally had to figure out college by myself. I've always kept the mentality of, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. You can't blame anybody else for your failures. You got to take responsibilities, whether it's a success or a failure. Take the responsibility. And you know what's crazy? The failures are the best because you learn the most from them. And I have had so many of those.
So there's a picture that we just showed of what looked to be a demonstration. I don't know if it was a protest or if it was a rally or what. Your activism has bloomed from beyond being the commencement speaker at Valley High School to hosting events like we see here. What is this? What's going on? Tell me what's happening here.
This right here was the Black Lives Matter protest that I put together in the suburbs. My family moved into West Des Moines when I was in middle school, high school, around that age. And after what had happened with George Floyd, I had realized that a lot of people in my neighborhood, my super suburban neighborhood, didn't feel as if the curfew that was put into Des Moines or everything that was going on in Des Moines affected them. You know, like the night of the vigil, there was all that chaos going on over at Merle Hay Mall, which was not even incited by the people who were there protesting in peace, right? And then I watch all this tear gas and all these SWAT teams pull up. And then I go home and it's past 9 o'clock. When I was in Des Moines, they were telling us, you got to be home before 9 o'clock or you will go to jail. I go to West Des Moines, it's 9:30. My neighbors and their kids are all outside riding their bikes, walking around. Even though we were part of the county, which was not allowed to be outside because of the curfew.
So the county had a curfew. It was being enforced in the city of Des Moines, but it wasn't being enforced in West Des Moines.
It wasn't their problem, right? That was the mentality. It wasn't their problem. So then later that
So you wanted to do something about that?
Yeah, but I had to do something about it.
Why? Why do you have to do something about that?
Because I think people get a little too comfortable. And the thing with getting too comfortable is you're never willing to get out and change things. You have to learn to take the uncomfortable and run with it. You can't say you want to change, but you keep doing the same thing on repeat. Are you serious? I watched as I saw videos and comments about how this isn't our problem, if this is their problem, the police are just trying to do this and that. There were so many different sides, but at the end of the day, I realized that the people where I was living didn't feel that this was their problem, and it was because there are Black people in suburbs. In fact, there are more Black people in suburbs than I think people believe, and it is a problem because we still have to deal with the fact that we're Black. Y'all, we can't act like y'all don't slow down when you see our houses. We can't act like every time we go into any of these fancy stores, y'all don't check and walk us around in circles. And when I say y'all, take it with, I'm talking about any type of implicit bias, people with implicit biases. When I say y'all, please take it that way. But it was just the fact that as a Black woman in a suburban space, I realized that no one saw the Black part. They saw the Black part, but they weren't able to understand that we're not different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still the same person as the person in the city over to us.
Mm.
I'm not the I'm not the nice one. Deidre, we all know I'm not the nice Black one. I am
You're
happily
nice
okay
enough. You're
with being
nice
called. I am
enough.
okay with being called the angry Black woman any single day because yes, I am rightfully angry, but truly I use my anger in every best way I can. So yes,
Sure.
perceive me how you want. But
So let's stop there because
Hmm.
you know there's been a lot of discussions about protests and demonstrations, and people use the R word like rioting when perhaps it's not rioting, but a lot of folks don't understand why. Here we have at the beginning of this pandemic in March, students being displaced from their colleges and universities like yourself.
Yeah.
Students in high school being displaced from their comfort zones. They don't have their friends with them. They don't have their mentors or their teachers, people to bounce ideas off of. We have an incredible situation of unrest. The same situation that adults faced, our children faced it. But there were very few resources for our children. There were very few resources for our young adults to seek refuge. And so I want you to tell us, why protest? Like why, like not why are you literally protesting, but why are you demonstrating? What are you trying to accomplish? What's wrong? Because obviously something's wrong, right? And so the most simplistic way that you can, tell us what's wrong and why you felt like you needed to use your voice in that way.
They tell us to go through policy, and then there's systematic oppression. They tell us to talk nicely, and you're asking for too much. You talk too loud, you have a problem. There is no way to properly demonstrate the oppression of being Black that someone can fully accept as that is it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like when I say that, what I mean is when I did this protest, the reason I did the protest is because the demonstration was needed in bodies. People need to see that people care. When there is power in numbers, when you stand by yourself, you're strong. But have you ever stood with 100 people and then 1,000 people who know why they're there? They know why they're fighting for this because these voices matter too. It wasn't meant to be a thing where it's not about cops. It's about the blatant fact that it's everybody versus racism. Everybody somehow centralizes that we're so angry just about police brutality. It has to do with police brutality. That was a spark. That was the thing that made a whole entire flame. But there is buildups to that. And George Floyd, he was not the first, and it's not to say he was not the last, but he was one where it was hard for anyone to turn away when you got a solid 8.5 minutes to watch. And it just sparked something in all of us, and me especially. Like that protest, Deidre, it was put together in 48 hours. I literally saw a video that made me so upset about why no one should really care about these protests. I was just like, okay, this is not what we're gonna do. There is power in numbers.
So you feel like you were in this position where there were certain channels that you've been told to exercise, that you've been learned to exercise to make change happen. And the channels in which were allotted for you were kind of not necessarily set up for you to be successful in expressing your voice, using your voice. And so hitting the streets, collective thought, connecting with folks, like-minded individuals and masses was your way of being heard.
Yeah. And of course, I did connect it with other things because towards the end of the protest, I gave out resources. It wasn't just a march and we're over. I gave out different resources for organizations, places you can go to better aid, assist, or to learn. How to help your fellow Black peers and individuals in your community, in the West Des Moines community, in your suburban community, in your city community. I brought out resources. I didn't want it to just be a protest. I wanted it to be a protest with knowledge. Because sometimes we all just come for the pictures and everything, but I wanted to make sure you left with something. You left with something
Mm-hmm.
that was like a little roadmap for what you can go do.
Mm-hmm. How you can add value as an ally, how
Yeah.
you can be more supportive, how can you be a part of change, things along those lines. That's good. That's good. So, out of all of this stuff, we've got trials and tribulations galore that you will be able to tell stories about for years and years to come. But I'm very curious, like, what brings you joy? Well, where is that? Where's your happy place?
I think when I'm in Kenya, it's one of my happiest places. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I can go see my dad or my stepdad, or I just go see my grandparents, I feel really happy because, you know, that's like the piece that I don't always get to see. So it's like the vacation spot for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It,
Would you
anytime
say
I
that?
love the spot.
Would you say that? So that's obviously a physical location, but when
Yeah.
you start talking about activism, your face lights up just the way you light up about Kenya.
Stop.
It lights up the same way. You talk about Kenya, you talk about activating, it lights up. So tell me, Sandra, if folks are listening, what would make you happy? What type of change in our systems would bring you joy and make you feel comfortable being a Black woman in your own skin and make you feel comfortable with your brothers being able to be Black boys in their own skin?
I really think we need to focus on our education system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just going to be in the classroom. It's a matter of what you do outside of it as well. Because there's only so much you can learn in the classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
your teachers make a valuable impact on you. But your
Mm-hmm.
parents are who most of us look up to. It's
Mm-hmm.
not even our parents, the people around us. Our guardians, our parents, whoever takes care of us, we look up to them. And what they teach us, we internalize, and usually we end up kind of being like a second image of them.
Mm-hmm.
So education, especially for school-wise specifically, it's a matter of switching up how the curriculum is set up and the things they teach and how they teach them. When I was in high school, I fought to get one of the requirements taken off for our social studies courses, which you had U.S. history or Western civilization as your two main options. Those are basically the same class. And so we got them to add world history as a third option for your social studies requirement. But I'm not completely happy with that one either. AP World, I'm not happy with it because it's about 80% about Europe. And last time I checked, we got a globe with 7 continents. So when they start, it's going to take a lot more because you see, even when I say like, hey, you guys, you changed it, congrats, you put AP World, I'm not just going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Y'all got some more work to do because what you have in them textbooks is Europe, a solid month in China, and we're done.
Mm.
Y'all cut out a whole lot of people in that AP class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's the working of it. It's going to take a lot of rebels in the school system to fix those things because what we've learned, we truthfully believe. Deidre, I cannot explain how many people have told me what they believe is U.S. history. And I have to sit there and be like, you have been lied to your entire life.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, education is key.
Education.
And we're so proud of your dedication, you know, tuning in live from that world of Hawkeyes is
Black and gold, baby. Black and gold.
You know, I just can't do it. But you know, to each his own.
Don't hate. Where are you at?
To each his own. You know, I'm a Drake Bulldog. I'm a Drake Bulldog. Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for just opening up your heart to us and helping us just to understand your walk and your journey. And, you know, if you all have been listening, you've heard that this young woman who's what, how old are you now? Like 20?
19.
You're 19. She's not even 20 yet. She's experienced loss. She's experienced tragedy, but she's also experienced triumphs. And, you know, none of us are perfect individuals, but Sandra is making a tremendous effort to be the change that she wants to see in her community. And I hope you all have learned something from her. I know I have, you know, especially as it relates to the heart. You know, like your mama says, if the heart is dirty, it has to be clean. And there's no sense of us walking around angry and not doing anything about it, right? And so we thank you for your wisdom and the value that you brought to this conversation.